Are you thinking about to buy investment property for a long time and don't have the confidence to take action? It is due to lack of awareness about the market, and you have lots of questions in your mind. What are the things you need to be considered when you buy investment property? Many people are not confident to take decision because it is due to lack of awareness. So in this video, I'm going to give you few facts that you need to consider when you're buying an investment property. Buying an investment property, it is a long-term, huge financial commitment. So it is important that you need to take the informed decision. I'm sure this information will be helpful for you to take informed decision. The first thing we need to consider the vacancy rate. The vacancy rate means if you are considering an area, just imagine there is 100 houses. How many houses are vacant? So if out of 100 houses, if there is more than 5 houses are vacant, which means the vacancy rate is 5%. You need to identify an area where the vacancy rate is less than 2%. That will help you to find the tenants easily. There is a huge potential for rental increment as well. If there is a lots of properties are vacant in particular area, that is not the right place for you to invest. And second thing, you need to consider the population growth. In Australia, the population is keep on growing. We know that every year after the COVID, the migration rate increased for 400,000 or 500,000 per year. It doesn't mean that each and every suburb of the population is growing. Population is growing depends on the infrastructure happening in that particular area. So you need to identify a suburb where there is potential capital growth, where there is population growth is there. That will help you to gain get capital growth as well. And another important factors, in Australia there are lots of risk factors are there. Bushfire, flood zone, cyclone. You need to identify a place where there is low risk. When we buy an investment property, we need peace of mind as well. If you are buying a property in a high risk area, that will never gives you peace of mind. So you need to identify the place where there is low risk. In order to identify the risk, check the insurance cost. If the insurance premium is high, that shows there are few risk factors are there. So before you buy a property, check the insurance cost in that particular area. That will give you an indication about the risk factor in that particular area. And another important factor is the rental yield. Rental yield means the total annual rental income divided by the property value times 100. So before you buy a property, you just need to check the rental yield in that particular area. If the rental yield is low, that is not an ideal for investment property. So try to get something like 4.55% or 5.5 percentage in that range. Some places we can see that 7 8 percentage rental yield. At the same time, you also need to check what is the council rate in that area, what is the insurance cost in that area. So you need to identify a place where there is you get recent rental yield. And the renter slash owners ratio, the renter slash owners ratio detect the stability of the suburb. If the owner occupiers are more than 60 percentage, that shows that suburb is stable. And another important factor is the days on the market. Some places we can see that the property stay in the market maybe more than 60, 70, 80, or maybe 100 days. So which means there is not that much sales happening, which means that is not an ideal place for to invest. So you need to identify the days on the market. And another important factor is the building approvals. Some places we can see that there are lots of lands available, there are lots of building construction is happening. So which means if there are lots of availability of lands and lots of building construction happening, which means we cannot expect that much capital growth in that particular area. So you need to identify the how many building approvals in that particular area. And another important thing is the stock on the market. That if there are lots of stock available in the market, we cannot expect that much demand. If there is shortage of demand, we cannot expect capital growth. So you need to identify a place where there is less supply on the market. And the employment by industry, this shows the quality of the suburb. What the what kind of people are living in the particular area, that detect the quality of the suburb. So you need to identify a place where the high quality of people living in that particular area. And another important factor is the affordability index. Affordability index measures how easily an average household can afford a on income medium house based on income. For example, if you and your partner working and you are earning 250K, just imagine yearly your income is 250K. and the house price in that particular area is 1.5 or 1.6, which means you cannot afford the property in that particular area. If the affordability index is high, people cannot afford the property there, which means we cannot expect that much capital growth in that particular area. So the affordability index is one of the key factor when you're buying an investment property. And the growth rate cycle, you know that many of the places in Australia, Perth, Queensland, many of the places in the last 4 years, the property price increased 60 to 85 percentage. Many of the places, I'm not saying that property price will not grow further. Still, there is potential to grow, but we cannot expect that much growth in the next few years. So you need to identify where the growth rate cycle is. So these are the factors you need to consider when you're buying an investment property. Let me repeat it again. The first thing is the vacancy rate, and the second thing is the population growth, and the third thing, the risk factors. You need to identify the risk, what are the risks involved in that particular area, and the rental yield. That is another important factor you need to consider, and the renters less owners ratio. You need to identify how much percent of the owners are living in that particular area, and the days on the market. You need to identify how many days the property are on the market, and the building approvals. If there is a lots of building approvals in particular area, you cannot expect that much capital growth. And another important factor, the stock on the market. You need to identify how much stock are remaining on the market. If there are too much stock on the market, you cannot expect that much capital growth. And employment by industry, you need to identify what kind of people are living in that particular area, and the affordability index and the growth rate cycle. These are the few factors you need to consider when you're buying an investment property. Again, buying an investment property, finding the right investment property, it is not a rocket science, but you need to spend some time to the proper research. You need the time, patience, and negotiation skills. If you have these things, you can do it by yourself. If you are not a good person with data research, or if you don't have the patience and time to do, then I strongly recommend you to consult with a buyer's agent. They will help you to find the right investment property for you. Buying an investment property is a long-term, huge financial commitment. So do not take risk. Take informed decision. Think about it and take action. If you like this video, please like and subscribe my channel. In coming days, I will provide you more informations related to real estate investments. I'm Sudesh, working as a buyer's agent. I help busy professionals grow wealth through real estate. Thank you. Have a great day.